We are through the halfway point of Ohio State's spring practice. Today was Student Appreciation Day at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Got some roosters over there. Had a bunch of students lining the sidelines and also kind of down crowding around the team for some of the final drills that they ran today. Another competitive practice. So we've gotten to see two of these back-to-back weeks. We were here last Saturday. We were here again today. And that's given us kind of an impression of where things stand as we're halfway through this. So we thought we'd give you one thing that is going well for Ohio State and one thing that is not. And, Stephen, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with the positive. What is going well right now for Ohio State football?
In the two full practices we've gotten to really see some competitive stuff. The defensive line is getting after it. JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Kenyatta Jackson's name, we've heard him more and more and more with each practice. Caden Curry at times, we've heard him. Amari Abor looks good coming off that knee injury from last year. And on the interior, Mike Hall cannot be blocked by anybody. Talik Williams is starting to put it together and be more consistent. Ty Hamilton doing the same thing. And I think it's a big deal that the defensive line is doing that because we've been waiting for that. But also, want to tailor it a little bit because we've been here before with the defensive line a year ago when I came in here for this practice and JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and Zach Harrison are having a field day with Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones. But then we get 6 months later into the season, it's like, where are the sacks? Meanwhile, Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones one's an All-American, one's a borderline All-American, one's a first-rounder now, and the other one might be a first-rounder. So it's interesting that it's happening, but it's happening while the offensive line is still learning blocking schemes. So you tailor it, but at least you're a little intrigued about what this can mean when we do get to the fall, if it feels like guys are flashing enough that it actually translates when you get on game day. It's a longer list and enough names that you feel confident in that maybe this time around the numbers, the sheer numbers, as Jack Sawyer was talking about, we need to get that sack number up. Maybe that number does actually come up for the first time since 2019.
And it is just spring. This is when you're supposed to be getting kind of the kinks out. And they've got some young guys on the offensive line that are doing this for the first time against very veteran guys. But, yeah, and I think it's important, though, it's not just that the defensive line's playing well. Like, they're really dominating at times. They're, like, taking over these competitive periods, and I think that's important. A thing that I think is going right is also on the defensive side of the ball, the cornerback situation, I think, is nearing where Ohio State would almost ideally like it to be. I think they are trending towards a place where Davis and Igbinosun coming in gives them a third guy. They thought they had two starting caliber guys coming back. Obviously, Denzel Burke was a starter. Jordan Hancock was supposed to have been a starter last year, at least compete for it, and he got hurt, and it couldn't happen. Bring in Igbinosun, and now you've got three guys you're stacking up. He picked off Kyle McCord today. That position is starting to really solidify, and then Jair Brown sliding in behind that. We also saw him getting some reps at nickel safety today. Like a guy that they want to find a way to get him on the field because he's been so reliable at a young age when they've been able to put him out there. But after a couple of years where cornerback play has been sort of endemic of the things that were going wrong with this defense, and now they are trending towards a place where it could really be a piece of strength in this defense again, which it hasn't been since 2019, really, frankly. And that's really – Jeff Okudah is really starting to look like in the rear view now. He's going to be on his second NFL contract, and Ohio State's still trying to figure out what's going on at cornerback, but I think they're getting there. There were some plays today. There was one in particular where Denzel Burke lost somebody, and Josh Proctor wasn't there to be behind it and went for a long gain. But in general, you're also starting to see the cornerbacks make a lot of plays. I think that's important. Area of concern for you as we're halfway through.
I think we're both going to probably hit on a little bit of the same thing here because it's really the only area of concern on either side of the ball right now, and it's the offensive line. I hinted at it earlier of the defensive line is dominating, but also you're pairing that with the offensive line does not look good at times. And that's even the veterans. You know, there are some – Donovan Jackson, Mike Hall had his way with Donovan Jackson a couple times this year. Now, it didn't look like he was fully healthy, so you put that into context a little bit. But this was not a good day. The second full practice you got to watch was not a very good day for the offensive line. And when you're trying to find your best five, I think Tegra Savola had some moments, but for the most part, The one consistent thing I did see, though, was Josh Fryer. You heard his name a couple of times, especially in those winner-loser drills. But from a full standpoint, the offense couldn't do anything during these competitive periods. Literally, they couldn't even get snaps off a lot of the time because the offensive line was struggling so much. And that's an issue because it doesn't matter if you've got Marvin Harrison and Emeka Ibuka and Julian Fleming and all these running backs and all this talent if you can't protect your quarterback.
So, yeah, just for the sake of not also saying offensive line, I'm gonna say, look, the safety room is deep. and we've had, I think, other videos about how strong that safety room looks right now. I think there are still some moving parts, though. Jahad Carter got a little banged up today. We'll see if that's an issue long term. They were optimistic it is not. Assuming that goes, maybe he has to miss some practice time, but assuming that's not a long-term issue, they are very deep. But I think what has been missing in that safety room has been the clear high-level play. We saw, Lathan Ransom broke through and got a big hit today in a fully live period that really got the whole defense going. But I think there's still some moving parts. I still struggle to think that Sonny Styles ends up being a second-string player on this team again this fall. And now exactly where does all that fit in? I think that is still a work in progress. So that's not really an area of concern. I think it's still an area of that's fluid. It's fluid because every other position on this field, I think we know exactly who's going to start on day one. Or maybe on the defensive line, it's like, well, will it be Ty Hamilton or will it be my call? Like, well, does it – whatever. You're still going to get 80 snaps of those two guys doing a good job. But at safety, I think we still don't know the identity yet of this safety. That may not be apparent until sometime in August. I think that some of those battles are going to keep going. But I think it's going to make that unit stronger in the long term. It's just a matter of what sort of progress still has to be made from some of these younger guys between today and September 2nd to make this defense what it's supposed to be. A lot more talk about that on Buckeye Talk. Get it wherever you can find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. It'd be a good day to sign up on Sunday because I think that'll take you the 2 weeks. The 2-week free trial takes you through the spring game where we'll be texting you everything we see from Buckeye Talk.